Welcome everyone back to Stanko Stance. John Stanko being joined by two very special guests, Jack Clark and Steve Kultzow here. They are co-workers with me and friends with me in the Iona College Athletics Department. All of us work in the communications field. Jack, Steve, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
We know that Steve is super excited.
I'm ready to go.
All right, so here's what we're going to do today as my phone goes off unprofessionally in the middle of the podcast. What we're going to do a draft of our top 5 Iona Athletic moments from this past year. We're going to go snake draft. Our esteemed producer, Joe DeLuizio, had the random order that he selected before we get on here. So Steve's going to go first, Jack's going to go second, and I'm going to go third. And so we'll turn it over to Steve. Now, the general rule is that you can't pick like an overarching thing like men's basketball winning 4 straight. It has to be a little bit more specific than that. That's the only general rule that we have. Otherwise, free for all, whatever you want. All right?
Got it.
All right, Steve, you're on the clock.
All right, so I think mine's going to be the most predictable 101 pick. I'm going to pick the MAC championship game. It is the 4th consecutive win for men's basketball. Not just the win, the entire game. You got Ricky McGill pumping everyone up on the bench after Iona's run away a little bit. You got another nice showing by the Heinz faithful, by the New Rochelle faithful coming by and supporting the Gales. We're fortunate enough to be in the locker room and really experience everything that a lot of others can't see. So we get to see just all the celebration, all the hugs, all the tears, all the raw emotion from everyone, which is a really special moment. And I'm lucky enough to sit courtside. I film baseline for our teams and going rushing the court. We're lucky enough. This is the 4th straight year Stanko and I have done this. So we're glad that we can be used to it and kind of know the deal by now.
That's true.
And just after the way the season started, it didn't look exactly like the Gales got off to a hot start. The way they overcame a lot of different factors, that was a special moment.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. I think John Matanko getting the ice bath in the locker room before Coach Kultzow was pretty funny. He just dove right in there.
Yeah, there are a lot of little stories that a lot of people don't know.
Yeah, so, I mean, safe to say that is probably the highlight for most general Iona fans this year is men's basketball winning that 4th straight and going to the NCAA tournament once again.
Yeah, let me just mention that, Steve, you wouldn't have been back there without my press pass that we had to switch off.
That's true.
Yeah, I won't. Well, you gave it away. I was not going to say how I got behind the scenes when I technically was not supposed to.
I almost didn't make it on the court. I think, like you said, 4 years in a row for you guys was nice because maybe the security guards recognize you, but they were not interested in letting me onto the court. But I made it.
I mean, security did a great job. They followed all their directions. Just we found our way into where we weren't supposed to be.
Like you said, Iona's used to how it goes, so we know how to bend the rules just a little bit.
Exactly.
All right, so number 1 pick in the draft, men's basketball 4-peat, the championship game over Monmouth. Jack, you got pick number 2 in the first round.
I'm going with Galesby's. It was my first time on staff being able to help out. I helped out in the past a little bit, never behind the scenes like we did this year, like I got to this year. And it's really nice. Obviously, it's an event that keeps, I think, getting better every year. I've only done it twice, but I've seen the progress in it. Everyone that works behind the scenes does a great job setting it up, especially our academic staff, Tiffany in particular, and plus the students. And other than the one little hiccup that we had, which may or may not have been my fault, it was a very fun event. And I think my favorite part from it is the red carpet in the beginning and seeing the personalities of student athletes that you don't exactly get to see. That was the best part for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think credit to Fran Kinsey. He stole the show on the red carpet. Wasn't even supposed to be there. Was a late addition to the party. But, I mean, Steve, you were working upstairs the whole time, and you saw Fran lighting it up on the red carpet.
Yeah, the red carpet is a great time. Sometimes we got putt-putt going on. We got a lot of different games, a lot of different personalities of the students. A lot of them might be a little timid. A lot of them are outgoing. And that's the beauty of college athletics. You got the whole range there. I'm the director upstairs, so it can get a little hectic. But it's definitely, that was going to be one of my picks for sure. So I hate you.
All right, well, so with the second pick, we got Jack going with the Galesby's in the first round. So for the third pick, I think this is a pretty obvious one for all Iona fans too, but it's the game against UNC. That first half, I'm at the game at the scorer's table, and I'm doing the official book for Iona College Athletics, and I'm also trying to operate our Twitter account while prepping bullet points for my game recap at the end. And folks, I couldn't do all of that. That was figuratively impossible. Literally impossible. Literally. Twitter was absolutely blowing up. I mean, for me, the really cool thing was the Ringer changing their Twitter account name to Iona Fans, and I'm a huge fan of the Ringer and all that they do, so that was really awesome. You got UMBC reaching out to us, Zach Seidel over with the Retrievers, who I actually know from my time at the America East. He doesn't remember me, but I remember him. So there was just a ton happening in that first half, and the North Carolina SID could not have been better during that moment. He's like, you guys are beating us right now. You guys deserve to be winning. And he was really kind about it. Granted, he hustled at halftime and went back there, and I'm sure was maybe a little bit nervous. Second half didn't go our way. The worst thing that could have happened in that game was halftime. We wish there was a 2-minute water break, and that's it. Stay back there on the court. But, I mean, Jack, unfortunately, you couldn't go this year. You were watching with your buddies at home, but Steve, you were there in the arena. Everybody was rooting for us, and that's something that I'm never going to forget.
Right. And it's the same with our other NCAA games when we play Oregon. If we go on a little bit of hot streak, a lot of people like to root for the underdog. We don't think of ourselves as that sometimes, but based on the way the seeding goes, we are the underdogs going in. Ricky McGill was on fire that day. And if you want to just follow up on that at the end, when Ricky McGill came out at the end as well, his farewell, the emotion coming from him and his teammates and Coach Kluse. The NCAA's was a great time, and that first half is definitely something I'm not going to forget.
That was awesome. I was literally just watching I was scrolling through my Twitter account this morning in the office, and came across the retweet from the NCAA account, all 10 threes from the first half. And just, going back and thinking about it now, you saying, I think I knew this, but I never really thought about it, doing 3 jobs at once that were insane. You couldn't really do all of them. And I was sitting at home because of scheduling conflicts with the other sports and stuff. But I was sitting at home on my buddy's couch drinking beer, watching with 2 people who I used to go to school here with. It was incredible.
Right. Following up on that, you have to kind of think in the moment of how you're going to market yourself as well, because now everyone's paying attention to your game and doing the right things, making sure everything's spelled correctly, making sure you hype everyone up. So that was quite the day.
Yeah, and fun fact with that game, Ricky McGill, the most single three-pointers hit against a UNC opponent in NCAA tournament history. I think he tied the record there. And Iona set the record, I believe, for most three-pointers as a team made against the Tar Heels in an NCAA tournament game. So the Gales made a little bit of history against one of the most prominent teams in all of college basketball. So not too shabby there. So we move on to the second round, and because it's Snake, I get to go again. So I'm pretty excited about that. So looking at my list here,
I think I know where you're going to go with.
You think?
Yes.
Okay, well, I think I'm going to throw you for a swerve.
I have no idea.
I think I'm going to throw you for a swerve. I'm going with post-game of the Iona volleyball after their NCAA match against Pittsburgh.
Okay, you're right. I'm wrong.
You're wrong. So the reason this is because during the match, especially the first set, Iona played great. And then the second set happened, and it's very interesting because with the way volleyball works, if you don't know, the teams switch benches between each set. So I was next to Iona bench the first set. Second set is Pittsburgh. So Pittsburgh comes over, and they see Iona in a rotation, and Pittsburgh's going, what kind of rotation is this? I don't know this rotation. This is really weird. What's happening there? Why is that person there? They're very confused. I look over at our bench. I'm peeking down going, Patrick looks a little confused, but he keeps his calm demeanor. Patrick Santiago, former head coach, now associate head coach at Duke. And so we get to the end of the game. We lose in straight sets, but we still play really, really well. The best outing by a MAC team in the NCAA tournament in over a decade. And so we get to the press conference, and we ask for an opening statement from Coach, and Coach Santiago goes, well, except for the coach who put in the wrong rotation for our student athletes at the start of the second set to put us in a hole, I think we did a really good job. That coach just may be fired. Now, Patrick Santiago has a very unique sense of humor that I got immediately. Nobody else in the room got it, so everyone looks and going, what? And he goes, guys, it was me. I put in the wrong rotation. It's okay. But that moment of just them being able to laugh after their season coming to an end, everyone having a good chuckle was really good. Santiago explained the whole story to me after. I was in stitches crying. He was so self-deprecating. It was great. And then dinner with the team afterwards too, smiling. You could see the sense of relief kind of on their faces that the long season was over, but still a sense of accomplishment. 20-win season, MAC regular season, MAC program record, 16 MAC wins. They took all individual awards that season. They cleaned house, and to see it end in that moment and share that moment with them was something I really remember.
Yeah. Following up on Patrick Santiago, those who know him know they know him. They know his personality. They know how crazy he is. After our home wins on the court, he would hug our analyst or play-by-play guy Ian Sachs a lot of the time, and if it wasn't him on the call, it was someone else, and he'd give them a hug as well. So he's quite the character. He calls a lot of people coach, including myself, and just makes fun of a lot of people as well in the nicest of ways. So congratulations to Santiago as well on the new gig.
Yep. Jack, you got the next pick in the second round.
All right. I got, at number 4, visiting Allen Fieldhouse with the women's basketball team. This one definitely had the potential to be a lot higher. It was somewhat soured by the fact that we didn't play the best basketball as a team, but I think the main reason being that we were caught in the middle of a blizzard that wasn't so expected, which meant that no one was in the arena. I mean, I'm not kidding you. There was probably like 15 people in the entire arena.
That includes the staff.
No, excluding the staff. Excluding the staff.
So 15 dedicated fans.
Yeah. They must have been living on campus or something. But, you know, that affecting the attendance of the game and then us getting stuck in Kansas for maybe a couple extra days longer. But it was actually really just an incredible experience. That was when I really first came. That was my first travel trip with a team with basketball. So it was really cool. They still did everything that they do for home games, which included the Rock Chalk alma mater chant and everything. So I was kind of, with it being 15 people in the stands, it was kind of hard to appreciate it, but I could imagine what it would be like when they play, when the Kansas men's team plays in a packed arena. Hearing that go off with the drums and everything, that was a really cool experience.
Right, so I've been to Allen Fieldhouse as well. I don't travel much with any of the teams, but I've been there a few years ago when our men's team played Kansas as well. That was a team with Joel Embiid. That was a team with Andrew Wiggins. So that game didn't exactly come in our favor as well. But that arena is something to behold. It's such a rowdy environment.
I forgot that you guys were there for that one.
I actually haven't been there. So
yeah,
you guys have been
just
there.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That game was another one that kind of went good in the first half, and then everything fell apart. It seemed like the referees weren't calling anything in our favor in the second half. But
yeah, if I remember correctly, I think we were only down 5 maybe with 10 or 15 minutes left in the game, so we held our own.
All right, that's a very solid pick. Very solid pick.
Thank you.
All right, so with the final pick of the second round, we turn to Steve Kultzow.
All right, so I'm going to go with the MAC Water Polo Championships when Iona defeated VMI, and water polo head coach Brian Kelly picked up his 378th win with the women's program. He's already the winningest head coach in Iona history, but now he ties Al Zuccolillo of baseball.
Good job on the pronunciation.
Thank you. For the most wins for one single program of all time. He knew this going in. I don't believe the players knew, but I've been working with Brian now for 4 years and even more since when I was a student. It's a great moment for him, great moment for his team, for the alumni, for the current players. That was just a special moment.
That's a good one. I actually didn't have that one written down, so good call for you.
Thank you.
Very good call. All right, well, you get to go again, so because snake order, so double up here.
So I'm going to somewhat follow up on what you were saying with volleyball. I'm going to choose that MAC championship game. There's not much to follow up with that. We talked about the volleyball a little bit, but just it's a great team. It's a great coach. A lot of record-setting performances. I know the girls were super appreciative and emotional following that game. We did a lot of follow-up interviews with them, but I don't want to expand too much because I know this is supposed to be very specific. But it was a great game. We were all watching, and congrats to the Gales.
Yeah, I mean, being there, that was unbelievable. The composure that they showed. Nobody's more excited for Mickey Mouse than Amanda Gannon. Nobody on earth. It's literally impossible. So, but the team, they deserved it, and I mean, it was a great moment. I still have a video on my phone of head coach Patrick Santiago carrying Nick Russo around the court, just going, "Roar!" And so, I mean, it was great. It was a phenomenal team, a bunch of happy-go-lucky girls, and they deserved to take home the title. Jack's got nothing to add.
Just want to make sure. Don't want to cut
Jack's
anyone
like,
off.
you said it all. You said it all.
Following up with women's basketball, my number 3 is their performance in the MAC championship, defeating Siena, upsetting Siena as a number 10 seed, and then eventually in the next round giving Ryder, the number 2 seed at the time, a run for their money. A great first half performance, and then things fell apart in the second half. But overall, it was a top 5 moment for me because it was like the culmination of an entire season where things just were not going their way, whether it was just losing games, injuries, just everything seeming to go wrong after they got that first win early on. And then they get the buzzer beater win at Monmouth. They end the season with 2 wins, Monmouth and St. Peter's there at the end of the year. And just seeing everything come together, being a part of the team behind the scenes, seeing how hard they work as a team and the coaching staff along with the players. It was just really nice to see all their hard work pay off there in the end.
Yeah, you said it, Jack. They the start to the season wasn't what the Gales would have wanted, but to see that improvement, you mentioned that game against Monmouth, I think was a huge momentum shift, a huge boost, I guess, for the confidence. So it was all about growth throughout the year. It didn't start the way they wanted, but they certainly improved throughout the year.
Yeah, and they dominated that game against Siena too in that upset. They from the get-go, they dominated that game and they took it home. And listen,
they dominated Ryder in the first half too, and then it was kind of like the same thing where they probably wish they could have just stayed out there rather than going break. Let them make adjustments.
Listen, Coach Chambers knows how to coach in the postseason. That's one thing you can't deny. Against Maryland, when they made the NCAA tournament, they competed against the Terrapins the entire game. Coach Chambers knows how to coach in the postseason. There's no doubt.
Absolutely.
All right, so now I got 2 picks in a row. So with the final pick of the third round, I'm going to go with a specific award. And that award is the most outstanding runner/track performer, and that Iona swept that category this year in all 3 MAC championships. Liam D getting most outstanding runner at cross country as Iona won their 28th straight. In indoor, it was Jordan Brannon, and then in outdoor, it was Johannes Mochman, who was a most outstanding track performer. This program is so dominant, and so many people don't know about it. And the fact that we were able to sweep those 3 major awards and everyone running in the conference, I think just shows what Director Joe Pienta and his staff have done there, that now they're across all 3 seasons. They have outstanding runners at the top of the field competing at that highest of the MAC level, but also at the NCAA level as well. Sweeping that award is not something that I think people should take lightly. Everyone kind of knows what cross country is doing, and with 28 straight, not enough people know, but it's at least on the radar. Now I think indoor track and field and outdoor track and field, those programs are going as well. So sweeping those 3 major awards with those 3 different student athletes, that's something that I think the program should be incredibly proud of, and I think is a really cool accomplishment.
Yeah, we can't talk enough about how dominant that program is, and the women's program is dominant as well, but 28 straight for cross country is now, you can't even fathom it. There's no way to describe how dominant that team is, even more so than your Patriots, Stanko. Every year, consistency. There's
2 words.
You can't.
Michael Myers.
They won't die. The men's cross country team will never die. Feel free to read stankostance.wordpress.com for more details. That's not shameless. That's directly at the camera. I'm looking right at it. Everybody read it. But yeah, so I mean, I can pull it up here and refresh it in a little bit, but if you look at the top hits from 1991, I could tell you that the top grossing film was Terminator 2, and Silence of the Lambs came out and swept all 5 major Oscar categories. 2 of my all-time favorite movies. So that was the start of a good run.
Go for it.
All right, so now I get to pick the first pick of the 4th round. So just to recap through the first 3 rounds, Steve, you have men's basketball winning the championship game and accomplishing the four-peat. You have MAC water polo beating VMI in the MAC championship, and Brian Kelly setting yet another record here at Iona. And then, if I can read my handwriting here, this third one you have.
Talk about me?
Yes.
My third one is the MAC championship game for volleyball.
Yes, MAC championship game for volleyball, and then accomplishing that title. I can't read my own handwriting. Jack, for you, your first pick was the Gales piece. Second pick was visiting Allen Fieldhouse, and the third pick was women's basketball, overachieving in the MAC championship and playing very well. And for myself, I have the game against UNC, volleyball, NCAA post-match, and then the cross-country track and field men's side sweeping the major running awards. So with pick number 4, going to get a little bit sentimental here. This one is when I heard Austin Stellato's game-winning call on WFAN and ESPN radio. One thing we do for every single men's basketball game, or actually, I should say basketball championship game, because when the women are in it too, we do it. We do the radio broadcast, so we give the chance for students to call the game and have a chance to experience the championship atmosphere, and also for their reel. And if we're lucky enough to win, we chop up the highlights, especially the final call, and we send it to WFAN, CBS Radio, Sirius Radio, ESPN, whatever.
The whole 9, yep.
Yeah, the whole 9. So it's a lot of work at the end of the night for the student because they have to chop it all up. They have to get it all out there.
It's a lot of work for us, too.
It's a lot of work for us, too. But we're not going to pat our own backs here. But on the ride home, hearing his call, getting the text from him saying, hey, my call was on WFAN, that's freaking awesome. Him experiencing that with his dad in the car they were driving together. That's just a sense of pride. Austin's only a sophomore, and he's immensely talented. And for him to have that moment, that's something that I'm just incredibly stoked about and glad we can give that opportunity to somebody.
Yeah, I'll shout out Austin a little bit as well. He's a natural. He's awesome what he does, and he's only going to be a junior this year. But we've been fortunate enough with our MAC championships that a lot of these students have had opportunities. We've had, Stanko called the Fairfield game last year. We had Lawrence Bellanzani and Kevin Walsh call a MAC championship. We had Ian Sachs call a MAC championship. So there are a lot of students, thankfully, with our success to help them build success as well. We have a great ESPN program at Iona, which gives students a lot of these opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, just awesome. And Jack, you also got to call a game. You got to call the Fairfield game with me.
You, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry, Jack.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
Well, I thought you were going with the play-by-play guys, which is...
No. We got to give some shine to the color, too. Got to give some...
It's fine.
Just as
You're
important.
the one who knows basketball. I'm just the one who describes what's happening. That's all.
You did a great... That's the thing, too, is everyone that we've... You could say that the athletic department has given the students that opportunity, but those students have made the most of the
Absolutely.
opportunity and did such a great job that I think... I don't know if that WFAN is putting that on just cause. You know, they want something that's good that people want to hear, and that everyone's done a good job with it, and it's the hard work has paid off for those students.
Yeah, so we had like Ian Sachs was something along the lines of like slaying the beast when the women beat Marist, and then another call when they beat Quinnipiac in 2016. A lot of calls, a lot of back to back calls. So they've certainly made the most of their opportunity.
All right, so there we go. So that's the first pick of the fourth round. Jack, you now take the turn.
Done with basketball.
Okay.
Going to softball. Haley Thompson, walk-off grand slam versus Niagara in the MAC championship. Number 2 moment for me. That one was fun. That was going up there to Marist, making that drive and being able to be there with the team. Beforehand, they had a lot of success during the regular season. I got to experience a lot of it. A lot of their home games they played in April, and they played incredible at home. Going into the MAC tournament, obviously that was a new experience for me, and that one was nice because it wasn't like working the home games. The only thing I had to worry about was social media, and I didn't have to worry about doing the music, PA, etc. It was nice to absorb a different kind of game atmosphere there at Marist, which is a beautiful field, and just a back and forth game where I didn't expect it to be like that. I didn't expect it to be a slugfest with Kara on the mound, but you kind of had that feeling. It was also a sentimental or an emotional moment for Haley Thompson. You felt it kind of in the air.
Yeah.
And going up, I remember I was taking pictures, so I had walked to the side facing her at the plate, and I got those snapshot photos of her making contact, and in the background you could see Katie Jansen, head coach Katie Jansen, in the act of jumping up for joy. But that moment was number 2 for me. It was an awesome moment to be a part of.
Yeah, you should have seen our athletic department in the offices trying to keep track of that game. Unfortunately, that game wasn't streamed or aired, so we had our laptops open, watching the rally happen, and then you got our AD, Mac Levasky, and then Brian Davis, thankfully not in a meeting, huddled around Stanko's computer watching that game, and just 4 runs pop up for the walk-off, and it was awesome.
Yeah, you just see the tally go up by 4, and we're like, wait, what happened? Walk-off grand slam! And we're all screaming. You got the AD screaming at the top of his lungs that we won a MAC championship game on a walk-off.
That's the hardest part, too, is like you guys are in the office jumping for joy, and I'm kind of there like taking the pictures, and I'm like, as excited as I am, I'm like, I'm in the back of my head, I'm like, I need to get this like celebration as much as I can do, like get all this stuff ready and like gather the players and coach to get the interviews for the MAC. Yeah,
in our profession, like you can be happy for probably about 5 seconds, then you really gotta get to work.
Yeah, it's a very true point. We're lucky to experience a lot of those happy moments, but also got to have tunnel vision when you got to get the work done. But very good pick. Very good. It's funny because Steve Kultzow asked before this, were there any softball walk-offs this year? I don't remember.
Yeah, I just knew because they weren't home, so we didn't have any walk-off home runs at home, so that's why I somehow forgot that one. Now that you bring it up, I'm like, wow, yeah, that was an awesome moment.
All right, so Steve, your final 2 picks, the last pick of the 4th round and the first pick of the 5th round.
Yeah, I have a lot I can go with. Maybe we can do some honorable mentions later. So we'll do that after we choose our 5. My next one I have Lift a Ween. It's one of my favorite days of the year. It's for a great cause. Those who don't know, the student athletes gather in Mulcahy for a lot of athletic activities, but all to raise money for the Gulata House, who provides assistance for those who struggle a little bit financially in the New Rochelle area. So obviously, not just for a great night where there's just volleyball, tug of war, basketball, anything going on, some food and drinks as well. And it's run by by SAC, who's just does a great job every year with that. But it also is a great cause, and it's one of my favorite days of the year.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. Also, Kelly Shaver, the strength and conditioning coach, he gets his hand in it as well. The highlight for me was the members of the baseball team dressing up as the volleyball players.
Yes, I failed to include that. They come in their outfits, and there are a lot of good ones every year.
So the baseball players dressing up as the volleyball players and then playing volleyball with various student athletes trying to reenact the volleyball student athletes. It was very, very funny for me. Very, very funny. And again, right, it's a great cause. All the students are required to go, and they all go voluntarily too because it's a chance for them to dress up. They get a ton of photos taken of them, and it's all for a great cause. All right, so Jack.
Steve's going.
So it's my next pick, my final pick.
I'm like,
don't steal mine.
PMT, I can't keep the snake order in time. All right, go ahead.
All right, so I'm going to shift gears now to women's lacrosse. Well, there are a few things I can mention, but I'm not going to just because you guys still have your picks. But I have Shannon McCaffrey setting the new Iona saves record with, I believe it's 438. The year didn't go as planned for the lacrosse team, but a highlight was Shannon McCaffrey breaking the all-time record for saves, and it's probably going to get lost in the shuffle a little bit because of the year they had, but she's been rock solid for the past few years for the Gales, and I think she deserves a ton of credit for the work she's done in that.
Yeah, I mean, she's an absolute brick wall. I think her junior year, she was just like, she is like 50% save percentage. She's like all over for her junior year.
Yep, records galore for her junior year. Yeah. She's going to end up as one of the best goalies in program history, and last year was a record-setting year for McCaffrey.
No, that's a very, very good pick. Again, that team works really, really hard, and Michelle does a great job. The family atmosphere around that team is, I think, what makes it so special. And, I mean, Jack, we see it working in the press box. Steve, unfortunately, you're in the truck, but the fans that come out and you see them on the stands cheering them out every game, even if the season's not going great, the support they have is still phenomenal.
Definitely.
So for Shannon to get that moment and then for everyone to be there to kind of galvanize around her, even when the season's not going well, to cheer her on and make sure she gets the recognition she deserves, I think that's a phenomenal thing.
Definitely.
I agree.
All right. So, Jack, your final pick in the 5th round.
I can't believe nothing got stolen. I'm just glad.
There you go.
This pick is easily top one for me and doesn't exactly involve athletics like some of the past picks. It was the induction of Pat Quinn. I'm sorry, not the award given to Pat Quinn at the Hall of Fame Gold Club outing. That was, for me, that was, I've done stuff with Pat Quinn in the past and been able to be around him, and he's such a positive personality and just he uplifts everyone around him, even with the stuff that he's going through. It's stuff that you can't even imagine having to deal with on a daily basis, and he truly, as it's been said before, encapsulates the fight the good fight motto of the college, and that was just a very emotional moment and nice to be a part of.
That's a phenomenal pick. I mean, being in that room, we were all there, and the standing ovation he got when he was first introduced was more than 30 seconds, people just standing up. Then when he finally got his award and after he spoke, tears were flowing, emotions were incredibly high. Everyone came up to him after and congratulated him. Everyone at the dinner who stayed for the dinner portion came up and congratulated him at the end. Just an unbelievable moment.
Just something else about Pat Quinn. They named the Pat Quinn Corner earlier in the year on Mazzella Field. Words can't describe how inspirational Pat Quinn has been to the college, to the world, to to many people. So I can't believe I didn't think about that. That was a great moment. You mentioned the standing ovation, so it's a great pick, Jack.
Thank you.
Very, very good pick.
Thank you.
Don't know how I'm going to follow that one up because that's probably the number one pick related to Iona Athletics this year. But my last pick is another sentimental one. I got to call Iona softball game with my girlfriend Courtney, who's a former student athlete here, and that was the most fun I've had in such a long
points.
time. It's not brownie point. Unfortunately, in the position I have now, I am not lucky to call games as often as I'd like, which is one thing I love doing more than anything else. And so I was looking forward to this game. We had planned it for months. It's like, this is the game that's happening. Unfortunately, Steve was not there able to produce that game.
But I was able to see the end of it.
You were able to see the end of it. But so before the game, Jack and I are working with Aiden to try and set up the truck on FaceTime with Steve to make sure that we get a broadcast going. Yeah. I leave Courtney just to be like, hey, Courtney, go sit by over there because that's where we're going to be. I'll be back. and I get back 10 minutes before the game starts. But then to do the games was a ton of fun. And it's just, I loved calling games. Doing it with her was a ton of fun because she actually knows the sport really well. She knows the coach. She knows the players. And that's just something that for sure is going to live on in my memory for sure.
Well, shout out to Aiden and the rest of the student workers for putting on a full ESPN production by themselves. I had to be with water polo that weekend. But from what I saw, they did a great job. And I'd love for Stanko to describe how he signed off on that game for the...
Why do I describe it?
So the way a closing works on ESPN, you say, you're supposed to say, for Courtney Miller, I'm Jonathan Stanko. Has been in a presentation of ESPN. A little bit more than that, but just about that. So John says, for Courtney Stanko, I'm Jonathan Stanko, and quickly became her husband in about 5 seconds. I heard it, and I perked up a little bit when I heard it. I'm sure Jack heard it when he was at the game, but that was definitely one of my favorite moments of the year. So good. Thank you for bringing that up.
That was it was a. Correct me if I'm wrong. That was a game we won. We won.
No, I believe we lost both games that day against Fairfield.
Did we? I'm trying to remember now because I remember when being next to you and you said it, and I heard it.
Let's check the schedule.
You know what it might have been is I just remember getting up to run. So I was thinking that I ran to the field to try and get set something up for an interview.
But the game against Fairfield?
Yeah.
We lost that game.
So
I think I just was running to the truck, perhaps, but I heard it, like you said, you perked up, heard it. I heard it as I was getting ready to play the final music and run to the truck.
Everybody heard it.
And it like took me aback for a second. I'm like, what did I just hear? And I didn't know if you flipped them. You were Jonathan Miller. But yeah,
I was called Jonathan Miller by the softball team for the rest of the season. So there was that.
But don't let Steve rain in your parade. It was a good moment.
No, it was a great moment.
For me, it's always good too. Like when we get to do the games on ESPN, because then usually it's just me and Max, our compliance guy.
Yeah.
And we kind of just sit there and banter there. But then to be able to get to hear what the broadcasters are saying, and then in between innings get to talk to you guys. And to have another extra set of eyes is always nice.
That's very true. Well, also in that game there was the weird the obstruction thing or the pickle on third base or something like that, where the umpire was asking for the rule book from our game op from Max, and it was just like, what? You can't ask for the rule book.
And then he got yelled at.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah, that was a game I definitely wanted to be there for. We were trying to work out some dates as to when Courtney would be around. Same with some basketball dates with some other friends that we'd like to get in at some point. Shout out Mike Ritz. But for softball, we were trying to work with Courtney as well. And Courtney's been a friend of mine as well for years. So definitely to watch the two and their chemistry with how great they are.
If you were in my ear when I said Courtney Stanko, I don't know what you would have done. You would have been cackling.
I probably would have walked out of the truck and we never would have went off the air because I'd just be laughing.
Courtney looks at me going, "What did you call me?" And I didn't know that I said it, which is the worst part, until someone showed me the video after, and I was like, "Oh,
yeah, the video that Steve clipped."
Oh my god!
Our friends knew very quickly.
I'm sure everyone
Steve clipped that immediately.
When her mom is texting her, going, "What did he call you?" And when fans from California are texting us, me and Courtney together in the group chat, going, "Do we not know something?" Folks, I'm never living it down. But still, regardless, that game was a ton of fun, and now it's a memory that I will never ever forget. For better or for worse, I will never ever forget it.
It's a good pick. It's a solid pick.
All right, so let's recap our top 5. So, with the number 1 pick, Steve chose the men's basketball 4-peat, and then going down, he had Mac water polo winning as VMI. So BK sets yet another program record here at Iona. He's got lift to win as well. He got Shannon McCaffrey record, and then I can't remember.
The Mac volleyball.
The Mac volleyball winning championship game. Guys, I need to improve my handwriting. I really need to improve on it. With the second pick, Jack chose second, the Gale Speeds. Then he worked down, going visiting Allen Fieldhouse, women's basketball Mac championship performance, Haley Thompson Mac championship walk-off, and the Pat Quinn Award, which probably is the number 1 award. That's something that we're never going to forget for the rest of our lives.
It was incredible.
Phenomenal pick. You get the MVP for that pick.
Thank you.
And then for myself, I had UNC game in the NCAA tournament for men's basketball, volleyball, NCAA post game after their match against Pittsburgh. Men's cross country track and field sweeping their major awards. Austin Slaughter getting his call on the radio following men's basketball championship broadcast, and then getting to do a broadcast with Courtney and getting to do a broadcast in general are just moments I love. So before we close out, phenomenal 5 picks by all of us here. We're going to pat ourselves on the back. What are some honorable mentions that we have that we didn't get to go through?
All right, so I'll go first. I have BK, Brian Kelly, winning his 600th career total win.
The dude just sets records nonstop.
Yes, he does. He won that day. And then the same day, they had a doubleheader that day. Michael Banks set a single game record with 25 saves in one game. So that's a special moment. And that was at Fordham, so also a rival of Iona. Yep. So I had Josh Plimpton and Linworth Lopez both tallying overtime winners for the men's soccer team. I have the new Heinz Center unveil that we're going to be getting a new arena. So that was nice. I have Zazaro no-hitter, as well as the unveiling of our baseball uniforms, which is something we've kind of never really done before.
Oh yeah,
we did a video for that, and the team was very happy about that.
Yeah, that's a good one too. That was actually one of our most successful videos of the year too.
And some other we didn't mention some championships, women's cross country, golf championship as well. So shout out to them.
All right, Jack, what are some honorable mentions for you?
Steve hit the nail on the head with a lot of them. I got, and now I don't want to take any of yours, but
you will.
Yeah, maybe men's basketball versus St. Peter's.
Oh,
that was another game that I got to watch kind of as a fan. The other games after that, me and you had to work in the end zone and help out. But that one I kind of got to watch as a fan. I was clipping on Snappy from the stands, so as much of a fan as possible. And sitting next to Brian Davis, Tom Moran, and Tiffany. And
they were not handling it well from what I heard.
No, Brian Davis wasn't. We didn't know. It was kind of in the back. All of a sudden, it's creeping in the back of your head like, this might be over.
Yep.
After as far as they came with the 7-game win streak to go into the MAC, and then it was kind of like, oh boy. And Brian Davis couldn't look. I had to look, and thank God that ball came out because it was halfway down.
Yeah, I mean,
a good rebound, EJ.
I have not held my breath longer than I did in that moment. So working in the end zone, that quarterfinal game, there are SIDs from other various schools in front of me, and they all turn around at the same time. And I think it was Greg Ott from Ryder who went, "You can breathe now, Stanko. It's okay." And I was like, whew. So, yeah, that was a very stressful moment, but definitely one you're never going to forget. Never going to forget that one as well.
And on the opposite end of the spectrum, staff golf outing.
That was a ton of fun.
Honorable mention as a top. That could be top 5. That was a great moment.
That was
great
a ton of fun. Honorable mentions for myself. You mentioned the men's soccer winning on senior day. Lenworth Lopez, the OT winner. I had that on mine. I have the men's basketball game at Siena during the regular season when Iona closed it out on a 19-1 run to, I think, win the game 57-52 was the final score, a barn burner of a game. But the Gales came back, they shut the Siena fans up, and I think Twan Agee had like 25 points. He had 5 3-pointers. He was an absolute monster to close out that game. And that was kind of the moment where in my head I'm going, the Gales might have turned it around. They're back.
That was following probably a week or two later when we lost at home to Siena, when we had about 4 opportunities in the final 10 seconds to either take the lead, tie it up. So that was a nice response there.
Yep. Other honorable mentions was men's basketball senior day with Ricky McGill. I mean, the dude's a legend at Iona. He has a record that literally can never be broken. It can only be tied. He's an absolute legend, and he had a senior day to remember as well. So that's one I'm going to remember. And then on a men's basketball trip to Canisius, we got to do a manager game. So it was the managers, assistant coach Ricky Johns, and myself versus the Canisius managers and a couple of their assistant coaches. And that was just a ton of fun, playing competitive basketball. I was never very good at basketball when I was younger because I was known as Stank the Tank, and I was slow and pudgy. But so getting to play competitive basketball with people who actually know basketball was a ton of fun. Ricky Johns is very good at basketball.
Stanko is not going to toot his own horn. He wants to be viewed as someone who's not very good at anything really, but he just lives to prove people wrong. He's good at almost every sport, so don't take him lightly.
I do enjoy it.
He gets the hustle points more than anyone in the world. Anyone you know.
Energizer Bunny.
Yes, no one will hustle harder than Stanko.
The Golden Griffs may have made a mistake putting a rather unshaped person on me for the first 10 minutes of the game. Just putting it out there. But regardless, the game was a ton of fun, and Ricky Johns, the last 5 minutes of the game, when it was close, Ricky Johns was just like, give me the ball. And then we gave him the ball, and we came away with a 2-point win. So that was a ton of fun as well. But those are some of the honorable mentions for me. All right, guys. Steve, Jack, thank you so much for joining us. This was a ton of fun, something a little bit different.
Definitely.
So, again, guys, thank you very much.
Thank you.
This will be up, hopefully, and you guys can share it. And if anyone else has other moments that they think we forgot or didn't get a proper honorable mention, feel free to let any of us know. Thank you for tuning in to Stanko Stance, and until next time.